Welcome to the Mission Advancement Podcast, where we talk about the importance of human connection, generosity, and leadership so that mission-minded leaders will be inspired to learn and grow. Well, welcome. Today I have Jessica Riggs, who is an office building mate.
Yes.
This is kind of a fun conversation, and we met by chance, working literally in the same physical office building. And through that connection, I learned a little bit about you and your story, and it's pretty interesting and inspiring, the organization that you lead today and how that came to be. So I think it'd be great for you to just kind of give your background and what is Angels of Care and how did you get into this leadership role?
Sure. Well, today I am the CEO of Angels of Care. We are a pediatric home health agency. We provide nursing care and therapy care, unskilled care to children, medically fragile children in their homes across many states. Today we're in 10 states and quickly growing, but my mom was actually the founder of the business, and prior to that, she was a pediatric home health nurse providing nursing services in a child's home. And she just really thought that there was a different way to provide these services, really from the heart, because she had grown to love and care for these kids and gotten to know a lot of nurses who just wanted something that was different. And so back in 2000, so over 26 years ago, she founded Angels of Care. And really the heart of that was just to treat people the way you wanted to be treated if you were in their shoes. And that really applied to our families that we're serving or our employees that we're also serving. And so we licensed just for a few counties in North Texas, and that was kind of the goal. We're going to help the community that we live in. And very quickly, word started spreading, and families were excited about the services the way that we were providing them. And they were hearing great things. And so very quickly, we were adding new counties as families were asking for us to serve outside of the first 3 counties. And today we're, like I said, we're in 10 states, just continuing to drive that mission forward. I've been with the organization basically since inception, but have formerly been the CEO since 2013. So been doing this for a little while.
Yeah.
I grew up in the business, worked in every functional area of the business. So I just feel like I have a unique way to relate to our employees and to our families. And my goal is to just continue carrying my mom's legacy forward and staying true to, as large as we've become, just continuing to stay true to our culture and our values that we were founded upon.
Yeah. And I think you told me you actually studied nursing, is that right?
Yes, I am an RN.
So you were, tell me about that kind of stage of your life. Were you thinking you wanted to go into the medical field, or did you think Angels of Care would be a profession for you?
I always knew that I wanted to work at Angels of Care. Even, while I was in high school, I was helping out at the company, and just I grew up around medically fragile kids. My mom was a nurse in their homes, and I had the unique experience to get to go spend a lot of time with those families, who I'm still close with, some of them to this day. And it was just impactful to me. I'm passionate about who it is that we're serving and just the needs that they have, the unmet needs that they have. And so just continuing to stay passionate. And I knew that going to nursing school would help me just have a different perspective as well and be able to better support clinicians along the way. And so, I went to nursing school, but came straight out of nursing school back into Angels of Care and just continuing on.
Yeah. So you guys you've been in the seat for 13 years, is that right? You said 2013?
Since 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys have been on a pretty fast-paced growth trajectory.
Yeah.
And I've seen a little bit of that just from even behind the scenes, some folks that I know that have been involved in helping you guys accomplish that dream. But talk a little bit about the shift. I mean, because if I recall, so we're in the North Texas area, and I live not far from 75. Driving north, there was an Angels of Care building.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that was it.
Yes.
Right?
That was our first office was right there in Howell.
Okay.
So just North Texas. That has we've moved down the street to the large building that you're referring to, and we still have a ton of amazing employees working out of that location. And then we have some of us here in McKinney, just a little bit more centralized to the Dallas area. But yeah, we've opened locations where we find the need. So where the families are that, we find that kind of start growing our census in that area, and we see that we need to open a location to better support them. So we'll bring in like-minded leaders who think about loving on people the way we do, and we've expanded that way. And that we did that across Texas. Today we have 17 locations across Texas serving the whole state. But we've gone across state lines, and so we did our first expansion to Colorado because a family moved there, and the mom started pestering me. She was like, please come to Colorado. And she just said, no one treats us the way that you did when we were in Texas. And so just by virtue of that relationship, we went to Colorado. There was 50 families that said, if you come, we're going to use your services. And so I always say Colorado chose us, and we ended up there serving families. Today we were serving hundreds of families across the state of Colorado with 4 locations, pretty much serving the whole state outside of the mountains. But we did, we were growing very, very fast and found the opportunity to partner with private equity, which from a culture perspective, I think can be frightening. Yeah. I was really nervous about that. But I spent a ton of time interviewing what ended up being 85 different private equity groups. And my biggest concern was losing the foundation of who we were in our culture. And I just wanted to make sure that I could prove to the world of private equity that you can be kind and you can love on people and you can treat people nicely in the way you would want to be treated, and that's good for business. My mom used to always say, just take care of the patients and the employees and the profit will follow. And so we've just really stayed true to that. We ended up partnering with a group called Varsity Healthcare Partners, and I loved them because they were trying to do things different, and they were very culture-minded private equity guys, which sometimes that's an oxymoron, but no, they really were, and they believed in what we were doing and how we were, functioning and how we were loving on people. And they said, we want you to keep doing that, but we're gonna go do that in more states. And so we did, and we were partnered with them up until February of 2024. And then when we were kind of exiting from that partnership and coming with our new partner, one of the partners there at what is now Nautic Partners, that's our current private equity group, they said, can you teach other CEOs how to do culture? Because we've never seen anyone do that. And to me, it's like, it's just simple. You need to treat people the way you'd want to be treated. But also as you grow and expand, you have to really be intentional about that, because we can tell everyone to just be kind and love on people, but that might mean something different to everyone. And so we've done a lot of work thinking about how we can be intentional about our culture and, putting that within our operating processes. And I've had so many families reach out to me and say, I just can't believe Angels of Care did this. This employee did this for me. And I'm like, it's our process.
Yeah.
And so we've been really intentional about making sure that we keep what, if I was standing there in the branch in, Orlando or Pennsylvania somewhere, that they're going to get the same level of love and attention that they would if I was there in person. I wish I could be in 60 different locations all at the same time, but I've learned that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I try to get out as much as I can, but we really lean on amazing leaders who, getting that leadership hire right is so important for continuing to lead their culture.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you've got a pretty unique way of describing your culture. Yeah. So you gave me a little bit of insight, but why don't you talk about what that is and how you internally have kind of branded that?
Yeah. So I could talk for hours and hours about what that means. And ultimately, we ended up coining the word halos because we're angels, and so we're halos. But that stands for heart, advocacy, love, outreach, and speed. And at the highest level, it's all about going above and beyond for people. Heart is for our clients. They're the heart of everything we do. Every decision that we make, we're going to make with them in mind. How does this decision impact the clients that we're serving? Which is abnormal and, in for-profit, even in healthcare businesses, it's just like, how can you squeeze profitability out of the situation? And we just take that and flip it on its head. And we seek out opportunities to just go the extra mile. We're required to provide certain services under our licensure. And we're always looking for wraparound services, either from a clinical excellence perspective, or how can we just meet the needs of the entire family, not just the individual client that we're serving. And so we do a lot of work around just getting to know our families, listening to them, understanding all the different family dynamics. And making sure that those become important to us. If we have a client in a home and they have a sibling who's in dance, well, it's really important that they make it to the dance and also that the parents get to go watch that sibling. And so we will stretch ourselves to make sure that we're there. We can take care of the child who needs medical care while family gets to go be there for the other family members. So just little things like that where we're just making sure that we're going above and beyond and we understand what that means for each individual family.
Yeah.
A is for advocacy. And the advocacy is such a broad term, I think, but we advocate for our clients, for our clinicians and employees, as well as for compliance. We do things by the book. We go above and beyond to advocate for our families. And that could be something as simple as they have a meeting at the school and they're needing help with some inclusion things that are going on in the school system. We just want to be right there alongside them so they never feel alone. They always feel supported. Or it could be something that doesn't really have anything to do with pediatric home health, but it could be impacting the families that we serve. And so we write bills. We do lots of lobbying efforts. We have lobbyists in every state that we operate in. And we spend quite a bit of money just making sure that the needs of these families are met and seen as important and are getting the attention that they need legislatively. Mm-hmm. The L's for love. So that's for our employees. We love our employees, and we don't just say that. We really try to think of everyone as like a real family member, which can be so cliche, I think. But how would you want your family member treated? How would you treat your brother or your sister? What would you do for them? So we've tried to create ways that our employees can love on employees. And through that, we've given them the gift of giving. So we created a program. We have 60, probably more locations now. And the more locations you get, the harder it is to make sure culture is alive everywhere. So we created what's called Halos Ambassadors. Every location has a Halos Ambassador, at least one. And we've put our money where our mouth is, and we've invested a lot of money into budgets by branch, and they are required to spend that money loving on people. So seeking out opportunities, it could be something really small, like you got someone an ice cold Dr. Pepper, or it could be something bigger, like a medical treatment or a car repair, or you find out you have a single mom who can't afford Christmas for their kids, and we're at their doorstep with a Christmas tree and a bag full of presents. So we want our teams to do those things. Those are the unique things that are really unique about our culture. We just want to go above and beyond. And just be generous in how we give, but just with our time too, So the O is for outreach. So we serve a very special group of families. They're very well connected, and just being involved in their lives is super important. And we have a lot of admin staff, and a lot of times they don't ever get to meet the families that we're serving, or in our industry, they would never get to meet the families. And so we create opportunities, and these are opportunities where the families are going to be present, and we want our employees, especially our office staff, to be at those events, meeting families, getting to hear their stories. They could be in our billing department, and those are the best ones to go. And so it doesn't matter what your job is at Angels of Care, you are making an impact on a family's life. You could be just submitting that billing, but at the end of the day, that allows us to turn around and take care of this family. So we actually give our employees, it's called Halos Days, and so we offer them extra PTO if they're volunteering in the special needs community. And our employees love this. They only have to do it one time throughout the year, but we find that they're just constantly doing it. They love being at these events. It's family friendly, so they can bring their kids, and it's just such a good experience. I mean, I did it growing up, and it just makes you have a different perspective on things when you get to be part of this community. They're very, very, very special.
Yeah.
Our employees love that, to the point where some of them have been invited to sit on boards of organizations because they're just so heavily involved. And I just think that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then last, but definitely not least, is the S, and that stands for speed.
I'm intrigued by the speed word. Yeah.
So we operate fast. Okay. I am not a big red tape person. I feel like if we find the ability to meet the needs of our families better, faster, more efficiently, we move fast and just pivoting and changing. We're technology forward. We're always looking for better ways to do things that ultimately, how is the way that we're operating impacting the families that we're serving and the employees that we're serving. But families they need us now. They don't need us tomorrow. If they're phone calling us, then they need an answer. And it may seem minor to us, but it's what's important to them because they took the time to give us the phone call. So we operate through speed. Every piece of our processes is measured in time, and we just set expectations around that. So when I talk to families, they'll tell me, you guys are so great on your follow-up, on how fast you respond, on how fast you provide nursing. And it's again, an intentional piece of our culture that we're going to move quickly and we're going to act with the utmost priority. It's a better way to serve families because they can't wait. They need help now. So it's really an important part of our culture.
Yeah. I haven't been in the pediatric space, but having aging parents, I can tell you I've been on that side, and the speed thing resonates because the time that you're waiting sometimes for we can't do an assessment for 4 days. Yes. And you're thinking, but we need that now. Like we need an answer and a solution now. So I totally appreciate it just from that point of view. Talk about the integration, because I know you said this earlier, and we've talked as business leaders about, culture's great, and we can all talk about you guys have a really unique way of articulating it. But the evidence of it is like the example of a client giving you that feedback. How have you integrated those kind of practices into processes and systems that might inspire somebody else to maybe implement in their own organization? Yeah,
so what we ended up doing is building our own operating system. Okay. There's all of these off-the-shelf models that we use, some of them, but like our EMR system where our clinicians chart and document the care that they're providing, it's great. However, it doesn't implement some of these culture pieces like the speed. And so what we do is we pull data out of those systems, and we've built our own operating system that allows us to better measure how people are being cared for, how fast they're being cared for. Things like the Halos Ambassadors program, allows some of the love piece of that to come to play. But we also do this thing called Halos Moments. And so we ask our employees, the number one thing we want to hear about is your Halos moments. Yes, we have KPIs and we have data and we have all of those things that we have to do and that we know about. But we won't start a meeting without talking about Halos moments first. And we even do that all the way to the board level. So every board meeting starts with actually a video with Beyonce's Halos song.
Perfect.
I always say she wrote that song for us. And we just go through our Halos moments of the quarter. But I have our leadership teams across the country do the same thing. Stop and then celebrate those things. Make a huge deal out of it, because employees love that feedback, and they're like, "Oh, I want to do more of that. That felt good." And I've had employees say, "It feels so good to take care of somebody," and it. Like I said earlier, it's the gift of giving. It feels better to give than to receive. And now they're doing that with not even their own money, but they're getting to surprise people and show up and make a difference. And people want to do that. And if we hire the right people who care about purpose-driven, careers, then it's just like magic. The people are going to do that because it's fun, it feels good, it's purposeful. And so that makes it easier to keep culture alive, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. The healthcare space is a complete unknown to me, so forgive my completely uneducated view. But I can imagine that you said, I don't like red tape. Yeah. I can imagine that industry is just filled with red tape, compliance, insurance. I'm sure you're dealing with insurance companies, right? Yes. All of that. So what's the tension there around behaving and operating differently as an organization? I'm sure you hire employees who come from other healthcare organizations, and this probably feels really different. What are some of the tensions maybe as a leader that you feel to go against the grain?
I think that especially as you grow and become so large, there becomes this thought process around formalities. And so something that used to take a quick text message or a quick little pick up your phone call and call. Now, people want to have a meeting about it and they want to produce all this data. And I think, bringing in people and giving them the authority to make decisions, and educating them and growing them within the company. We are really big on promoting within and having this succession plan for people. If you come in and you start with us in an entry-level role, we want to promote you. We want you to become a leader. Our chief compliance officer started out as a staffing specialist for us. One of our VPs of the nation started out as a biller for us. And I love those stories because those people have worked in several functional areas of the business. And so they get to know the underlying pieces of the puzzle. And so by promoting from within, but also bringing in experienced talent from outside of the, of entry level and working your way up, it's a good mix. And just telling people, hey, you have the authority to make that decision. You don't have to have a meeting with me. You know the answer. And a lot of times I'll just say, hey, Lowe's. And then they go, oh, okay. And then they know what to do. So
it's like a code word.
It's a code word. You know what to do. You know what the right answer is. And so we can just, the one word answer. And I always tell our employees, if you make a decision and it was the wrong decision for whatever reason, if you can explain to us why it was a Halos-minded decision and what you were thinking, you're not going to be in trouble. We may go, okay, well, you didn't think about this, and let's have that conversation. But we want people making Halos-minded decisions, and you have to allow that in order for leaders to be comfortable making decisions. You kind of have to let them stub their toe a little bit every once in a while.
Yeah, little room to fail.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about generosity. Obviously, that's woven throughout your culture in a number of ways. Courage is another kind of theme that we like to dive into with leaders. So I'm curious if anything comes to mind from your seat or as an organization that has required some courage in recent months or years that, again, would inspire somebody else that might be wrestling with a challenge.
So many different things just come to mind. I think one, just the expansion into new markets and the unknown of that, and being willing to, we grow through different avenues. One's just organic growth in our existing markets. We partner with new organizations through acquisitions. But the other way that we grow is through de novo. And I think we're just very confident in our culture, our ability to resonate with families in new markets and just tell them who we are. So recently, we've launched an entire de novo sector of the business where we're saying, hey, we're going to go into a brand new market. No one knows who we are, but we're going to just start from the beginning, licensure.
Okay.
We have no families yet to serve, but we're going to invest all of this money to go build a team, get locations set up, do the sim lab, all these things that we do. And we just have a lot of faith that the service is needed, right? And, we do a little bit of homework on the back end. We know that there are families in the state to serve. But we are just so confident that we are doing things differently than what families are used to experiencing, that, get that first referral, serve them, they're going to tell their friend. And I just think, that takes a leap of faith to do that and to kind of put our necks on the line and say, hey, we're going to spend this money and we know it's going to work out. I think that's courage.
Yeah, no doubt. Risk.
And risk. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So if people are looking for a provider like Angels of Care, how do they find you? I'm assuming that doctors are often referring partners, but how do people come to you guys and how can they learn more?
Well, first they can come to our website, which is www.angelsofcare.com. We have quick fill contact forms on the website, so that's probably the easiest way. I think we have over 50,000 followers on our Facebook page, but we manage that page 24 hours a day, so they can contact us through there, or they can just call the office.
And you're fast.
And we're
right?
fast.
That's part of it.
We're gonna call them back really quickly. Yes.
Well, I'm sad that people need your services, but obviously, glad you guys exist, and the fact that we just happen to be in the same building is really fun.
I love it.
So thank you for what you do. Thanks for giving your time today, and for people learning more about the kind of culture you guys have created. Congratulations. It's a great story.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
You bet. Thanks for listening to the Mission Advancement Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you'll be notified of future episodes. You can also find out more info at missionadvancement.com or on social channels. Thanks again for listening.